Knowing the DOH criteria, HR uses the admin dashboard to trigger an email to respective employees on the next steps to register themselves through the Health Now app. Eligible employees will receive an email from HR to proceed with registration by downloading Health Now. Once inside the app, a notification will appear for registration. By clicking the notification, a browser will open inside the app where employees are to verify their work email address. Once email is verified, employees are to enter their information. When the vaccines become available, employees will receive email and app notifications to book their appointment and select preferred site, date, and time. Employees have to provide additional health information in accordance with the guidelines from the Department of Health. When scheduling, employees will need to pre-book 2 dates for their 2 doses. Date choices for the second dose will automatically be limited to a specific range to reflect the prescribed dosing period for their assigned vaccine. Once the booking appointment is accepted by our DOH accredited providers, employees will receive confirmation through email and app notifications from Health Now. Employees will be reminded a day before their appointment. These will include information on the vaccine, a video guide, and a digital consent that must be accepted to proceed. The app will then generate a QR code, which will be used for checking in the next day. After receiving the vaccine, the employee will be observed for signs of allergic or adverse reactions by the healthcare team. Should a severe reaction occur, a referral form will be generated by the attending physician. This form will be added to the patient's record in Health Now and printed on-site as needed to allow the employee to be referred to an emergency service provider or hospital for continuity of care. To ensure that employees are taken care of after vaccination, post-care information will be sent through Health Now after each round of vaccination. This will include information on what to expect and how to get help from our medical team in case of any delayed reaction to the vaccine. The employee can find proof of vaccination in the vaccine card and passport, along with a corresponding QR code within the app. The record of vaccinations will also be collated and submitted as an upload to respective LGUs. Records will be safely stored by Health Now for the employee. We at Health Now look forward to making your healthcare experience a simple and easy one.
Switch to 4G SIM and device for better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Switch to 4G SIM and device for better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Switch to 4G SIM and device for better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better.
We would like to encourage everyone, especially our dear mayors with your respective localities, to make sure that your mobile connections are powered by 4G LTE. There are still quite a number of 3G users in the country who are not able to maximize the best possible experience out of their mobile connection because they are hindered by low internet speeds of 3G. 4G LTE provides better data and faster speeds that will enrich their experience and enable them to integrate digital solutions in their everyday lives, in digital finance, e-commerce, telemedicine, telehealth, entertainment, information, and e-learning, among others. Globe customers who are still on 3G SIM can upgrade to 4G LTE via the nearest Globe store. Upgrade is totally free, secure, and they can keep their current numbers. The webinar will start in a few minutes.
Switch to 4G SIM and device for better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Switch to 4G SIM and device for better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Switch to 4G SIM and device for better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds. Better data, faster speeds.
just one step, ang daming posible. A step can lead to a walk, then a run, and even a climb, until one day, magugulat tayo na ang layo na ng narating natin. With Glow, our steps can lead us to millions of doors opening, millions of paths unfolding, and millions of reasons to keep going. Take the step with a network that gets better every day for you.
How
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our 10th Livable Cities Lab and our first for 2021, brought to you in partnership with the League of Cities and Globe Telecom. Today's lab will focus on getting cities ready for vaccines. With the vaccine's expected arrival, the largest mass immunization in history, will be a daunting logistical and public education challenge for all of us. In order to prepare cities, this discussion for the first lab on getting cities ready for vaccines will revolve around how cities plan to administer the vaccines, build acceptance for the vaccines, and allocate it equitably across various populations. How many of you know your own city's vaccine administration program? We've assembled a great panel today, including 4 mayors, to share their knowledge, experience, and insights in preparing for this biggest vaccine rollout. In order to manage all of this, we need data. Data plays an important role in local governance and management. It allows local chief executives and managers to make informed decisions and improve service delivery. It can help gain insights to formulate policies and improve accountability and understanding of local operations. It also allows citizens in the private sector to identify innovative ways of using public data to engage with their local government. With this in mind, we created the Livable Cities Dashboard to consolidate data from the public sector and other sources and visually display it in customized graphs and charts per city. By utilizing data visualization, local governments can easily spot trends for effective decision making and help them diagnose areas for improvement. The Livable Cities Dashboard is designed by London-based development associates and creates a detailed and in-depth visual overview and informative profile for every city in the Philippines. One of our key partners in this endeavor is the British Embassy. The Livable Cities project has been made possible through the British Embassy's Enabling Fund, with additional support from the non-ODA Prosperity Fund, also by the Embassy. To give us a short video message, let us please all welcome United Kingdom Ambassador to the Philippines, His Excellency Ambassador Daniel Bruce.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm very sorry that I can't be with you today. I know you've already had some invaluable discussions about your COVID vaccination plans. As many as you know, in the United Kingdom, we've been amongst the first countries to put in place and to mobilize our mass vaccination program, recognizing that this will be the best pathway to achieving resilience and recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. These, of course, are two very interconnected concepts that apply to individuals, to communities, and to cities. And COVID and the challenges that we've all faced in the context of COVID have very much brought that interconnection into very sharp focus. Here in the Philippines, where more than half of the population are living in congested urban areas, these compounded challenges place greater pressure and impetus on our being innovative and efficient in our approach, using scientific evidence-based and data-driven policies. Against that backdrop, the City Resilience Dashboard, a project that's been taken forward with the Makati Business Club and the League of Cities, comprising of a 145 LGUs. The dashboard aims to create, within the short term, an online platform that will establish a standardized baseline data archive that can then be used as a tool to shape the recovery and resilience plans and programs of the LGUs. We hope very much that in the medium term, the dashboard will help foster an innovative mentality and a collaborative attitude towards a more sustainable and inclusive city planning and governance approach. And in moving towards digitalization, we likewise pave the path for democratizing city planning and policymaking at grassroots level to promote healthier, greener, and more resilient cities. So I'd like to extend my appreciation and early congratulations to our partners in this incredible project, to Bill Luz and the teams at Makati Business Club, and to the League of Cities. Thank you all for your hard work. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Bruce. Dear friends, there you also have the sneak preview of the Livable Cities dashboard coming to you in April. We look forward to more partnership and collaboration with all stakeholders, most especially our LGUs. Before we proceed, may we request for a group photo with all the speakers with Deputy Ambassador Alastair Totti, who leads the embassy delegates joining us today. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Back to you, Sir Bill.
Okay, thank you very much, Patrick, and to the British Embassy and to Development Associates for presenting the preview to us. Before we begin, let's review a few basic safety reminders for all our webinar guests. First of all, be aware of your surroundings while the webinar is ongoing in case you need to stop due to an emergency. And second, please always stay safe and practice social distancing if you are out of your home. Okay, so today we've got a big audience of over 500 combined in Zoom and on our Facebook Live. And so let me just go through a few administrative matters before we start. The first is that this webinar will be recorded, and a link of the recording will be sent to all of you after the session. The second is that you may ask your questions through the Q&A chat box. You can just type in your questions as we go through with each presentation, and you can vote for the questions, by the way. So by clicking on the thumbs up icon, the most voted questions will surface to the top, and so we'll be able to answer those and address those much more quickly than all the other all the other questions. At the end of this webinar, we will invite you all to please fill out a feedback survey so we can plan and by getting the feedback on this particular lab. So as I said, we've got over 500 in attendance on Zoom and Facebook Live. Thanks for spending your afternoon with us at Livable Cities Lab. So let's start with a few basic questions just so we know where you're all coming from and the mayors will know, our speakers will know where you're all coming from. So the first question on the poll, which we're going to flash on screen, is where are you joining us from? Metro Manila, rest of Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao? So where are you joining us from? We'll give a few seconds, and this way we're going to get a good view of the where the audience is logging in from. Okay, so today our audience will be 48% Metro Manila, 36% rest of Luzon. So we are very Luzon-centric today, more than usual actually. 10% Visayas and 6% Mindanao. So we are heavily based in Luzon for today. Okay, let me also, because we're talking about vaccines, let me ask a second question. Are you willing to be vaccinated? Okay, are you willing to be vaccinated? This is a very personal question. Yes, no, or undecided. Okay, results please, Jonah. Oh, okay, this is great. We have 73% say yes, we have 4% who say no, and we have a 24%, quite a large group of undecided. So mayors, you kind of know a little bit of what type of an audience sentiment you are facing, no? And then let me just ask one final question, and then I'll get to our first speaker. Are you aware of your own LGU's vaccination plans? Huh? Are you aware of your own LGU's vaccination plans? So this is a simple yes or no. Either you have information or you don't have any information. And this will tell us, I guess, how much we all need to prepare in each LGU. Okay, well, this is good. 65% are aware, at least 65% of this audience are aware of the LGU plans, and 35% are not yet aware of their own LGU's plans. Okay, so we know that people are willing to be vaccinated, but people need to know more about their specific LGU plans. So let's get to the main subject matter for today about getting cities ready for vaccines. So our first presentation is going to be by Mayor Evelio Bing Leonardia of Bacolod City. Mayor Bing was awarded Man of the Year at the Asia Leaders Awards 2019 and represented the Philippines at the World Summit of Local and Regional Leaders in Durban, South Africa in November 19, so just before COVID set in. He is the national president of the League of Cities of the Philippines, LCP, a partner of the Livable Cities Challenge in this particular project, and he is the president for the period 2019 to 2022. LCP, as you know, is the organization of city mayors of 146 cities nationwide, and he is the longest serving mayor of Bacolod, now on his sixth term, having spent 3 terms as a mayor and then moving on to become a congressman. So he's gone back and forth, and now he is on his sixth term as a mayor for Bacolod City. So let's please welcome my good friend, Mayor Bing Leonardia. Mayor Bing, long time no see, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bill. Am I coming clear?
Yes, you are, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. You know, I thought you sounded like my campaign manager. Thank you. And of course, may I greet the presence of His Excellency Ambassador Daniel Cruz, and I suppose Mr. Ian Cox of the British Embassy is with him. Then the AstraZeneca guy, Jay Sepulveda, and it's nice to see on screen the lovely faces of Mayor Joy and Mayor Abby, and of course the imposing presence of Mayor Richard. So without much ado, uh, while I am supposed to present the vaccination plan of Bacolod City, may I be allowed to very briefly somehow present to you in flash form our situation in Bacolod so that you will have a sense of where I am coming from. To make the long story short about my presentation, we went through 5,863 confirmed cases and with 190 deaths. But when we used to have 100% of our barangays infected, now only 20% are infected. And the records are telling us that we have only 24 active cases now after going through more than 1,000 active cases during those rough days. And we've been registering many 0 days, meaning zero COVID cases. And in fact, yesterday we had zero. Then we went approaching this following the DOH rules that PDITR was followed with some renovation. And some of our initiatives included the creation of our Bacolod Respiratory Outpatient Center, the Submobile, the first of its kind, a Bacolod Respiratory Referral Center for our indigent patients. Then the nerve center of our operation, which is the Emergency Operation Center, has been very effective, very efficient, and very responsive. The backtrack system for contact tracing was a big success, and our one hospital command has been coordinating and harmonizing our utilization of our hospitals. Then, of course, we created the Bacolod City COVID-19 Vaccination Council. Our contact tracing has been very aggressive. Then, at the height of the problem, when we were under ECQ, we distributed 165,000 food packs to the affected families worth 53.8 million. Then through the help of President Rudy Duterte through the Social Amelioration Fund, 115,643 families got 12,000 pesos each, which means it is a total 1.4 billion that came to Bacolod for to assist our people. We have livelihood projects, which I need not elaborate. Then we have, because of our targeted and surveillance testing, 58,780 had already been tested, or that is almost 10% of our total population. We established 1,107 beds for our isolation centers and 864 beds for our quarantine facilities. Our aggressive contact tracing some at a certain point in time reached as much as 1,600, which is a combination of our DILG, PNP, and barangay forces. The DOH told us that the uh, the biolab we established with the regional hospital is the first of its kind when you talk about level 3 testing laboratory. And our swab drill, according to the DOH, is also an innovation which was the first in the Philippines during that time. Our Bacolod Respiratory Center has been functional. Our COVID referral system responded when after we invested 12 million into it, and the backtrack system has registered 451,183 people, which is approximately 72% of our population already. 8,534 establishments has been registered. And now let me come to the vaccination program of Bacolod City. We created a COVID-19 vaccination council when it was sure that the vaccine came into being. And we did that as early as December 22, 2020, and we believe we were one of the first We were among the first LGUs to have created a vaccination council. Then we hold regular meetings, mostly virtual, of course, and this I will give you a broad picture of our vaccination mission in Bacolod. Our population is 624,987 according to the Philippine Statistics Authority for 2021. And considering that 32% of these are below 18 years old, it means 199,995 uh, should that be computed, should that be included. And it means that we are supposed to target 424,992 people, or 68% of our population. Given the fact that we had already closed a deal with AstraZeneca for 650,000 doses, or, or translated, it means good for 325,000 of our people, which is 76% of our vaccinable population. We are only just concerned with 99,992 persons, or 24%, and we are going to decide on which vaccine brand we will use depending on how the national government will deal with us in terms of whatever contribution they may give us. On the right side of the screen, you can see our priority sectors, but essentially, that is actually just a following DOH guidelines and protocols. So I need not go into the details of this. And in terms of our preparation to purchase the vaccines, we have prepared 300 million for it for a start. And we told our people that where their health and safety and lives are concerned, we are willing to go for broke in terms of using anything and everything we have in the budget to see to it that we will be able to give them the vaccination that they need. So we, as I said earlier, we had closed a deal with AstraZeneca for 650,000 doses of vaccines, and we had already paid the down payment last Monday. And that came about after we were issued by Malacanang the memorandum order that allowed us to make the advance payments. We signed this agreement way back this January 7, 2021. And in as much as, according to CNN, we were just at that time only the second LGU to have closed a deal with a vaccine company. We got the attention of national media, and among others, CNN was one that gave us that much focus. This is a map of Bacolod, which shows the identified vaccination centers that we have. If you can see, they are scattered all over the geography of Bacolod, and our command center is what you see in the middle, and that is practically in the heart of the city itself. And if we depend only on our public vaccination centers, it means that we can have as much as 27. But if we will include the 13 vaccination centers that the private sector is offering, then it means we can have as much as 40 vaccination centers operating at the same time. Then we are depending so much on our strong public-private partnership with the in the local community. And essentially, these are schools, malls, hospitals, media organizations, medical societies, and business groups that are joining us in this crusade to to vaccinate as many people as possible in Bacolod. In terms of the volunteer vaccination manpower, of course, again, they will come from schools, hospitals, nursing associations, and medical societies, and they are listed down in the you can see them in the screen. And our vaccination and power complement means that we will have 8 members per team, and we're supposed to have four teams in every vaccination center. As you can see, we have one crowd controller, encoder, one screener, counselor, vaccinator, a releasing assistant, a monitor, and a utility to put order during the vaccination itself. If we, according to our calculations, we can have a team of vaccinators can have 100 people vaccinated in a day. And it means if every center will can vaccinate 500, and if we use the 27 vaccination centers, we can go as far as 13,500 a day. And if we use all of them, the 40 centers, we can go full speed at 20,000 a day. But of course, may I emphasize that these are estimates. But at least what we can say is that we have an established direction towards this. Now, our vaccination registration is anchored on having them each or individually uh, designated a QR code. And we believe that is going to be very effective. And we have ongoing online and barangay registration already. May I present to you the flow chart of our vaccination process? Of course, number one is the entry of the patient. Then he goes to the registration area and then a screening verification area before he gets the actual vaccination, who were a releasing assistant is supposed to be assisting. Then we have a post-vaccination area where we should be monitoring everybody between 30 to 45 minutes after the actual vaccination. In terms of our cold chain facility, we have a cold room situated in our city hall itself, which, as I had mentioned earlier, is so strategically located geographically in the heart of the city. And while it is not that big a space of only 30 meters, 30 square meters, if you talk in terms of doses, that has a capacity of holding or of storing 2 million doses at any given time. Then in terms of the refrigeration of the vaccines, our ultra cold, we are ready for a cold storage, and we will be purchasing one that could even accommodate an AstraZeneca kind of vaccine, meaning as low as minus 70 degrees. But for the AstraZeneca and the other types, we will be ready with portable vaccine storage, which means that if we are able to get these 25 units, which we are trying to pursue now, then at any given time, we can store 1.6 million doses, which is more than enough for us. Then, in terms of our vaccination education campaign, admittedly, this is a big challenge. Uh, I believe this is true with many other LGUs, but then, of course, we have prepared IEC materials, and ongoing is our Facebook Live campaign, and then we have that arrangement with KBP and the Negros Press Club to join forces in trying to convince our people that we should all be vaccinated. And among the campaign strategies we're using is to somehow get in touch with people from Bacolod who are abroad and who had already been vaccinated. So they will become living testimonies that vaccine is safe, and there should be no reason for them to be scared about vaccination. So far, we've connected with our residents, our natives from Bacolod in Dubai, United States, and the United Kingdom. Then we had already started with our vaccination simulation exercises. We did it last February, early February, and we intend to have 30 more vaccination centers in the spirit of practice makes perfect, we will have as many vaccination simulation exercises as we can. Our training of vaccinators and educators is ongoing. As a matter of fact, as we speak, there is a training happening downstairs, and this is going to continue as far as we need it. And then last February 11, our city administrator M. Ang personally delivered to DOH Region 6 our vaccination plan. And only yesterday, February 23, we were informed by DOH that our vaccination plan is okay. It's a go. So we are set to go ahead with our vaccination plan. And as they say, the test of the pudding is in the eating. Well, at least we can say now that we are ready to eat in Bacolod. And so we have been telling our people that vaccination is the answer. And that we had assured them that in as much as Bacolod was in an accelerated growth and development before the pandemic came, we are assuring them that as soon as we get to normalize, we will be back to action. We will be back to business, and Bacolod will continue to be one of the fastest growing cities in the Philippines. Thank you very much for this privilege. Madamo nga salamat sa inyong tanggap.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much. First of all, very impressive program, very detailed. And also, I must say, it's leadership by example. Mayor Bing is the president of the LCP and has his own city ready with a plan. And congratulations, Mayor, on the approval, the acceptance and approval of your city's vaccination plan by DOH. Congratulations. Let me move to our next presenter, Mayor Joy Belmonte. So Mayor Joy is the first elected woman mayor of Quezon City. She is also the executive vice president of the League of Cities of the Philippines. She was recently, she was awarded top 10 outstanding mayor of the Philippines by the Gawad Filipino Awards, and she served as the vice mayor and presiding officer of the Quezon City Council from 2010 to 2019. She's been a very progressive mayor as far as COVID response is concerned, and recently signed an agreement with the Ayala Foundation for pool testing, one of the few cities to engage in pool testing in the country, actually. I know of only two, and we're happy to have both of them on our panel today. So let's please welcome Mayor Joy Belmonte.
Good afternoon, Bing. Good afternoon, Mayor Bing. Good afternoon, Bill, and good afternoon, Mayor Abby, and to all of the guests who are present today. I would like to share with you our vaccine plan, and we call it the Quezon City Protect Todo sa Bakunang Sigurado. And for those who don't speak Filipino, that means in Quezon City, everyone will be protected with a vaccine that is effective and safe. Next, please. So our plan started basically last December 3, when I issued an executive order creating a task force, which we call Task Force Vax to Normal. And this is a group of people that was given the task to create the vaccine plan. So as early as December 3, we're preparing for this. Next, please. So as per our executive order, the task force Vax to Normal consists of the following clusters. So we have the administrative cluster, which contains a legal team and the secretariat, and of course, clusters that manage the supply or cold chain management, the immunization process, the data management side of things, and the communication side. Next, please. So as per our implementation plan, we have 3 phases: the pre-vaccination phase, the vaccination phase, and the post-vaccination phase. And I will briefly discuss each of these phases as we go along. So in the pre-vaccination phase, we identify the following priority groups. Now, as per the Department of Health as well as the World Health Organization's guidance. So we have, as per our listing, 23,027 frontline workers in health facilities, 300,000 senior citizens, 20,000 persons with comorbidities, 20,000 other essential workers, and 703,000 indigent members of our population, which brings this to a total of 1,066,000 people belonging to our priority list. Next, please. So with regards to registration, we have a system in Quezon City called the Quezon City ID system. This is actually not connected initially to the vaccine rollout. This is our way of keeping track of our residents and giving them better service delivery. However, since we were rolling this out together with the vaccine, we decided to just integrate this as well. So while you fill out the forms for your QCID, we have added several questions to it. These questions revolve around whether they're willing to be vaccinated. And the question is, are you willing to be vaccinated? And the boxes to be ticked are yes, no, and undecided. Now, anyone who lives in Quezon City, regardless of whether they are voters or not, can avail of the Quezon City ID. You can get a Quezon City resident ID, or you can get a Quezon City non-resident ID. Non-resident IDs are for those who are working in or studying in Quezon City, because we believe that everybody who contributes to the well-being and to the progress and development of our city can and should be vaccinated in our city. And through the ID database, we can now draw up the master lists, which will then be migrated to the EasyVac system. And this is the database system of Zwilig, our partner, which we will talk about later on in further slides. No, but in the meantime, if you answer yes to the question, do you want to be or are you willing to be vaccinated, automatically you were sent an email by EasyVax, which will contain a bunch of questions which you have to answer pertaining to your health history. And through your answers to these questions, EasyVax will determine whether you belong to the priority lists or you belong to other lists. No? So this is the system that is helping us to determine who should be prioritized in the vaccination program. Next, please. So based on our current database, since we only started rolling out the QCID last January, we have about 157,904 who have already applied for their ID, and 38.42% are willing to be vaccinated, 38.24% are undecided, and 23.32% are not willing to be vaccinated. Every day we get about 10,000 new applicants to our ID system. So tomorrow the figures could be very different. So this is as of today. So because there are a lot that are still undecided, albeit I believe that there are more yeses in our city compared to some other cities whose results I've also seen, we still have to convince the undecideds to avail of the vaccine. And so we launched a program, and this is the QC Protect Todo sa Bakunang Sigurado Vaccine Confidence Campaign. And at this moment, since we're waiting for the vaccines, we are concentrating on this confidence campaign to encourage more people to be vaccinated. So the components of the campaign are as follows. Similar to Bacolod City, we have a communications plan wherein we have been conducting webinars on a weekly basis, inviting experts from various medical fields that are knowledgeable about vaccination to talk about the vaccine process and programs and why it's important to be vaccinated. So we've had, for example, Dr. Gloriani, who is part of the vaccine expert panel. We've had Dr. Eric Domingo, who is the head of the FDA, to talk about how vaccines are given emergency use authority. We've had members of the clergy as well. We've had people from Quezon City residing abroad who have been vaccinated, talking about their experiences pertaining to side effects, etc., and the like. So we've had almost 7 or 8 webinars to date, and these webinars are available for everyone to see in our website. No? Apart from that, we also gathered a series of frequently asked questions, and we have answers for these questions, and these are distributed to all of our different communities in the grassroots level. And apart from that, we also have barangay toolkits. No? So a toolkit is something that we borrowed from the CDC, wherein we tailor fit our campaigns to various sectors. So there's a toolkit for senior citizens, there's a toolkit for barangay workers, there's a toolkit for women, there's a toolkit for solo parents, etc. Depending on whatever sector you belong to, there's a video, there are collateral materials, etc. And all are meant to help you become convinced to avail of the vaccine. So apart from that, this is now phase 2 of our program. So I just discussed phase 1, which was the pre-vaccination stage. And now we're on phase 2, the vaccination rollout. And here, I would like to stress that we have partnered with Zuilig Pharmaceuticals to help us. And the reason why we have done this is because our city, it is the most populated city in the country with about 3.1 million people. And it is the third largest city in terms of land area. And so given the magnitude of the task of vaccinating all of these people, the vaccinable populations of these people, I think that it is important that we partner with experts, that we don't experiment, that we don't play around with the lives of our citizens. So we decided that it is important to partner with somebody who already is very well experienced and well versed with the process of vaccinating large numbers of people. So Zuilig is the partner of choice. So in our playbook, course, here in our supply chain management, here are the following components. We have the funding and procurement, and we've already purchased like Bacolod, 1.1 million doses of AstraZeneca. We have a budget of about 1 billion, which is of course not enough. And the amount that we've been able to reserve is 550,000 people, and that constitutes about a third of the people that we have to vaccinate. At present, we are still in the process of negotiating with other pharmaceutical companies that can provide added vaccines to our roster of vaccines. No? We are also depending heavily on the assistance of the national government, because given the size of our population, we really cannot do it by ourselves. Then, of course, the vaccines will enter the country. There will be storage, and they will be received in the warehouses of Zuilig. They will be transported and delivered to Quezon City from the Zuilig warehouses. And of course, there's the ordering and implementation processes of the vaccination sites and the post-surveillance and returns of vaccines. Now, so basically, that's our playbook. Now, in terms of warehousing and supply, again, the Quezon City government could not afford to purchase cold storage facilities. It was just too expensive in relation to what we could afford. The overhead was just too much. So we're relying again on the medical grade facilities of Zuilig. They have cold storage for 2 to 8 degrees. They have walk-in freezers of -15 to -25 degrees centigrade. And they have ultra cold freezers as well of -70 to -80 degrees. So they have all of the necessary facilities needed to store our vaccines. In our city, what we did invest in is the cold storage facilities when these vaccines arrive in our vaccination centers. No? So, but in the long term, of course, if this is something that we have to do every year, vaccinate our people, we already have identified a part of our city, a warehouse in our city that can be transformed into a cold storage facility that is equivalent to medical grade standards, and which can store vaccines to up to -70 degrees as well. So in Quezon City, we have at the moment identified 24 vaccination centers representing the 24 clusters of barangays in our city. We have 142 barangays from a small barangay of a population of about 500 people to a barangay with a population of about 200,000 people. So that's kind of like how diverse our city is. And that just gives you an idea of how difficult the task of really organizing the logistics of vaccinating our our people is, and that is why we really need the help and advice of experts like Zwilig. No? So at the moment, we have 24 vaccination centers. However, we are currently in talks with the Diocese of Cubao and the Diocese of Novaliches, both of which are located in Quezon City. And our bishops have already agreed that the parishes can be used as vaccination sites. However, we still need the go signal of the DOH because they are very particular with regards to the size, the airflow, and the flow of persons as well in the various vaccination centers. So actually, we offered several hundred sites, and these 24 are the ones that were selected by the Department of Health together with the Zwilig, with Zwilig Pharma. We are happy also to note that the Ateneo de Manila University has offered the Ateneo to become our mega vaccination center. And with regards to other partners, we have partnered with St. Luke's Quezon City for manpower as well as for allocation. We have partnered with UERM for manpower. We have partnered with the Fidel Mundo hospital as well, no, to help us with manpower. So here, as similar to, again, with Bacolod, I think this is standard. This is our flow chart. So we have the entrance and registration, reception area, the counseling area, the doctor's assessment area, the vaccination area, and the holding area. And we would like to stress that the holding area has to be very, very big because people have to stay there for at least 30 minutes to be observed for any kinds of side effects, no, such as allergies, etc. So the whole process will take about 45 minutes per individual. So at the moment, we perceive that we will be needing for the 24 vaccination centers a total of about 1,200 personnel operating in 2 shifts. So in 1 shift, there will be about 600 personnel. And each site will have 5 inoculators together with doctors, counselors, screeners, and other personnel like marshals and guards. Next, please. So here is basically what we're planning to do very conservatively. I'm much more conservative than Mayor Bing. So here in Quezon City, we have to vaccinate about 1,600,000. That represents 80% of the adult population of Quezon City or residents 15 years old and above. So that's quite a number. And therefore, we estimate that this can be done in between 6 to 8 months. So this is basically how we're going to break this down. There are 30 working days in a month, 8 hours of work per day. There's 70 people that can be inoculated per inoculator, and there's of course 5 inoculators, so 350 individuals per site, and then times 24 sites, that's 10,500 individuals to be inoculated per month. No, per day, I'm sorry. And then that's 252,000 per month. So that brings us to about 6 to 8 months to be able to inoculate 1,600,000 residents and non-residents as well of Quezon City. And so we have an emergency response plan, and this is still part of the vaccination process. We have doctors, of course, in every site. We have our barangay health emergency response teams and our DRRMO vehicles in every site to bring emergency cases to referral centers in case there are adverse reactions or allergies or etc., wherein the patient has to be rushed to a medical facility. And of course, every site will have an EpiPen for addressing adverse allergic reactions to the vaccine. So in the post-vaccination stage, we have vaccine and patient monitoring, and we will have, again, courtesy of Zwilig, a dashboard, which is on real time. We can track the vaccines as well as the persons that are going to be vaccinated. So we can track how many vaccines are used, how many are not going to be used because they got destroyed and route to the site or were not effective, etc. We will also be able to track the individuals that have been vaccinated per site, again, on a real-time basis. No? And this dashboard will be available and accessible to all of the decision makers of the city, including myself. And every patient will, of course, through, again, the Zwilig system, receive this message via text or email to tell them when they are scheduled to be vaccinated and in what site they will be vaccinated and at what time. No? So they can be emailed, they can be texted, or we can course the information through the various barangay health workers that will be working with us. Through a community, through the community. No? So there are many means through which we can inform our general public about their vaccine schedules. And in the post-vaccination phase, because we know that monitoring will take several weeks or even months, we have a hotline. It's called Quezon City 122. We have call center agents already trained to address all kinds of queries pertaining to the vaccine, pertaining to adverse effects, pertaining to their fears, etc. And we have a health monitoring via telemed. All of our health centers will have telemed facilities because one of the things I really try to work on is to make sure that there is very strong internet in all of our health centers and that there are appropriate health workers there that can address the needs of our constituents that have fears or have certain questions to ask pertaining to the vaccine. And of course, our barangay health workers have already been trained to conduct home visits and to monitor as well for various adverse effects. I'd like to stress before I end that here in Quezon City, we also asked the question in our survey, why don't you want to be vaccinated if you answered no or if you're undecided? And we're happy to say that unlike countries wherein there are really very staunch anti-vaxxers as a matter of principle, meaning that they don't like to have foreign matter injected into their bodies, etc., which makes it very difficult to convince them to be vaccinated. Here in our city, most of the people who do not want to be vaccinated or who are undecided are undecided because basically they are just afraid. They lack information. They read a lot of fake news on social media, and they really just want their fears to be allayed. And that's why our communications plan for me is the most important aspect as at present, while the vaccines are not yet here, because the communications plan, our plan is really tailor-fitted to answer to all of the fears of all of the citizens of Quezon City, because our hope is really to achieve herd immunity here, and that is 80% of our residents vaccinated. So I guess that's it. Is there another slide? So I think that's basically our vaccine plan. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mayor Joy. First of all, I don't think we envy you. You've got the largest city to cover in terms of population, 3.1 million, but you're also inoculating non-residents who happen to be workers or students within your city. So that's a big job, and I like the plan. It's detailed out and it's very practical and very realistic. So good luck with the plan, and let's see how we can all help each other achieve that plan. I also like how you're really, like Mayor Bing, leaning out, reaching out to private sector, private hospitals, and other institutions, including the church. And I think that's first time I've heard a presentation that includes the church. I always thought parishes and churches might be a good vaccination sites because they have the space and the entry and exits can be well marked out. So thank you for that. Let's move to our next speaker, Mayor Abby Binay. So Mayor Abby has served in both the legislative and executive branches of government. She first represented Makati in Congress in 2007 at the tender young age of 31, making her one of the youngest representatives in the country. And she served two more terms, winning both the 2010 and 2013 elections before she moved over and became the mayor in 2016. She immediately instituted reforms and innovations in the programs and operations of the city to make services more efficient, accessible, and convenient for Makatizens. Now, in her second term, Mayor Abby continues to lead Makati's transformation into a technology embracing smart city that is sustainable and resilient, as well as a model of inclusive progress and development. And she's also one of the only two cities I know who've gone into pool testing, way back. And And I think that's benefited both mayors in terms of finding out what's going on with prevalence in their city. So let's all please welcome Mayor Abby Binay and let her tell us about the vaccine program for Makati. Mayor Abby?
Hi, Bill. First, I would like to thank you for inviting me to share our vaccination plan in Makati. Of course, I'm honored to present the city's preparations. And although this is just the beginning, the development of the vaccines gives us hope that there is an end in sight to the COVID-19 pandemic. The economic impact of the pandemic need not be underscored. From a governance standpoint, the past year has drastically redirected our focus and stalled what would have been an infrastructure-driven Makati in 2020. It is often said that we are more fortunate than most because of the availability of resources within our disposal, but being the richest city poses an even greater challenge and an equally daunting responsibility. How to get the most using the least resources and how to prepare for uncertainties never before experienced in recent history. To me, it wasn't merely about how much, but for how long. Makatizans depended on me to make wise, brave, and game-changing decisions for them during the onset and peak of the pandemic. First, I ordered the Makati Action Center to immediately personally deliver food packs to the homes of over 360,000 Makatisans, medicines to senior citizens and sick persons, and financial assistance to displaced public drivers, students and residents, and cash incentives to graduates and senior citizens. My priority was to protect the vulnerable first and foremost. We deployed mobile markets to barangays, distributed 5,000 pesos each to our Makatizens through GCash, and up to 100,000 pesos to business owners, built emergency quarantine facilities, conducted free mass testing, and implemented groundbreaking innovations for the health, business, and education sector so that no one would be left behind. Now that the vaccines are expected to arrive in the country in the coming months, people have asked me what's next for Makati. The city government has allotted an initial 1 billion pesos to purchase COVID-19 vaccines for all Makatizens. By Makatizens, I mean property owners, business owners, and their employees, and those who already belong to the city's comprehensive database. This is our priority, and our goal is to achieve a 100% vaccination in Makati. Right now, we have procured 1 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine. The national government will also give us 700,000 doses, or is equivalent to 70% of our population. It is noteworthy that our free COVID-19 vaccination program covers employees of all registered businesses in the city, even if they are not Makati residents. We included the business sector in our plan to boost its efforts to sustain its city's economy. This program is our way of helping our economic frontliners aside from the city-provided economic stimulus packages for businesses. We have enough vaccines to cover everyone from micro to large companies. In determining the number of employees per company, we will check the business applications of every firm, and only those who have a business permit and are up to date with their tax payments will be included in our list. Of course, companies who have purchased vaccines for their workers will be excluded to give way to others who need it the most. Makati's population during the day is over 5 million, since most of the non-residents go to the city for work. Our resident population is only around 500,000. A total of 104 vaccination teams will vaccinate 11,000 people daily, and we target to inoculate all 500,000 residents, frontliners, and workers in 2 to 3 months. Our vaccination plan is divided in 2 phases. Phase 1 involves the healthcare workers, uniform personnel, government employees, and barangay health response emergency teams. Meanwhile, phase 2 covers senior citizens, persons with disabilities, the indigent population, essential workers, and those who are 18 and above. Makati will roll out the first batch of vaccinations for our frontliners soon, which all depends on when the national government will get the vaccine. Like other countries, we have converted the Makati Coliseum into a mega vaccination site to cater to the first batch of our medical frontliners, both public and private, and those under the first phase who will be inoculated once the vaccines are available. Besides the Makati Coliseum, the Makati Health Department has identified 31 vaccination sites, including 24 public schools, 6 villages, and the Hospital ng Makati. Apart from the Makati City Hall, which will serve as the main vaccine depot, the other 4 vaccine depots are located at East Rebo Elementary School, Makati High School, Nicanor Garcia Elementary School, and Pio del Pilar Elementary School. The 5 depots will house 42 biomedical refrigerators, laboratory freezers, and other logistic needs for cold chain management to ensure proper and safe storage of COVID-19 vaccines. Residents and non-residents who work in Makati who will be vaccinated will undergo 6 steps, such as online registration, validation, counseling, screening, vaccination, and post-vaccination observation. We will ask Makatizens and workers to register online to reduce carbon footprint and prevent crowding at City Hall. All they need to do is visit the website, fill out the form, read the information about possible vaccine reactions, and secure a patient number. Afterward, they will receive a text message from the city government regarding their vaccination place and schedule. After they have been inoculated, you will receive a vaccination card with a QR code. And the good thing about our plan is that if you have a QR code, establishments can view your vaccination status upon scanning the code. At present, we are also using the QR codes in business and food establishments for contact tracing and health declaration purposes. Apart from preparing the vaccination sites and procuring logistical needs, we continue to hire additional doctors, nurses, and midwives to augment our vaccination teams. We regularly post information about the benefits and safety of COVID-19 vaccines to allay the public's fears and to encourage them to get vaccinated to protect themselves and their families from the virus. I know some people are thinking twice about getting the vaccine, and that is completely understandable since there are reports of people who have experienced side effects after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. However, let me assure you that we also have dedicated doctors and medical staff who are prepared and trained to respond to medical emergencies. Likewise, Makatizens may call our emergency numbers and our COVID-19 hotlines or use the SOS function of our Makatizen app in case of urgent situations. As Makati continues to implement technology-enabled initiatives that best fit the needs of our people, we continue to forge ahead with programs that speak of how we envision the city's future, recovered, ready, and resilient. Since 2017, my full year in office, we have procured various disaster and risk reduction equipment as part of our efforts to build a sustainable and livable city for future generations. We have also sent some of our DRRM personnel to Yokohama, Japan to improve their knowledge and enhance emergency response skills. However, I must admit that the emergency of the COVID-19 pandemic made us realize that we need to prepare for other types of disasters, not just the usual ones like typhoons, earthquakes, and fires. Unlike natural disasters, pandemics spread and kill millions of people worldwide. The arrival of the vaccines will signal the new normal that copes with the pandemic, but this health solution should only trigger the new future that Makati foresees. Economic resiliency is imperative. So expect us to do all that we can, to do all that we must to remain in stride with Makati's developed objectives. We call ourselves proud Makatizens for a reason. Whether it be the COVID-19 pandemic or any other setback, we shall remain focused and never ever give up. Thank you very much and good day to all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Abby, for your presentation. I like your attitude that we can never be over prepared. I think if there's a lesson we learned from COVID is that we needed to get ahead of the curve in terms of preparing, whether we're talking about testing or requiring, obtaining PPEs or now the vaccination program. And Makati has an unusual challenge like Quezon City, where it has a extremely large, in the case of Makati, an extremely large population of people who come to Makati to work, but who live outside of Makati. So thank you very much, Mayor Abby, for that presentation. Let's move on to our next speaker, Mayor Richard Gomez of Ormoc City. So, Mayor Gomez is a multi awarded actor, host, and TV commercial director, where he has won numerous awards before he pursued a career in public service. Um, He's a product of UP Diliman and UP Open University, where he received recognition as an outstanding student in 1993. He holds a master's degree in business administration from University of Perpetual Help. He's also pursued graduate studies at the Film School of Continuing Education in New York University, and has obtained a doctorate degree in public administration from Cebu Technological University in 2019. So he has really very consciously prepared for a switch in his career to public service. So please let us welcome Mayor Richard Gomez from Ormoc City. Mayor Richard.
Thank you, and thank you, Bill, and good afternoon, everyone. I am presenting to you the Ormoc City COVID-19 vaccination plan. Ormoc City is a smaller city in terms of population. We only have a population of about 240,000 and 500 people, but our land area is almost the size of Metro Manila. So as compared to Metro Manila cities, mas malaking land area namin as compared to their population. Of the 240,000 people we have, the estimated number of population to be vaccinated is about 131,879. No? And our plan in Ormoc is to divide all this 131,879 into 6 districts. No, we have each district will carry a number of barangays, of which we will be able to inoculate our people here. In reaching out in every barangay, we have about 80 vaccination sites in this 6 districts. What I want to show everyone is that we did a strategic plan in Ormoc City. We have a plan A, plan B, and plan C, using different types of methods. No, if you take a look at plan A, we created an augmentation team composed of different government agencies, PNP, BFP, DepEd, BGMP, and other schools. No, and on the next column, you'll see that there are numbers of vaccinators and number of teams. And for Plan A, it will take us about 21 days to inoculate all the almost 132,000 people. And for Plan B, we did a private-public partnership. 70% of that will be government workers, and 30% will be coming from the different hospitals and the different doctors in Ormoc City. And with that, with our Plan A, it will take the city about 14 days to finish our vaccination program. And in our Plan C, instead of using other people from government, we will be using our augmentation from the hospitals of Ormoc City, and that will take us about 16 days. So with all those plans laid out, we chose the fastest way of finishing up our vaccination process in Ormoc City, which is Plan B, and it will be categorized as a private-public partnership. So 70% of that will be coming from government workers, and 30% will be coming from the private sector. And this is the estimate. The next page is the estimate for our vaccine requirement and ancillary supplies needed. As you can see, there'll be about 27,000 vials that should be delivered for Ormoc City, and we will be needing approximately 6 refrigerators for that. And to ensure the timely delivery of logistics, we are being helped by Fast Logistics of the Chongbian family. They will be the ones to deliver the vaccines from Metro Manila to Leyte up until Ormoc City. Our main storage will be at the Ormoc City Superdome. We should have 6 refrigerators to be positioned in all our 6 districts covering different barangays in Ormoc City. And then we also prepared a daily vaccination session plan and a supervision and the monitoring plan and schedule. So the Ormoc City Health Department will conduct an orientation to all vaccinators and implementing unit to the rollout plan of the inoculation. Daily schedule will be made by the supervisors of each cluster or district as to what barangay and vaccination posts will be provided per day. A composite team will be organized as to the supervision, monitoring, and evaluation of the vaccination activity. And the composite team will also be in charge of the consolidation of accomplishment report, deferred and refused target clients. Kasi hindi ho lahat talaga magpapa-vaccine, no? Some are scared, some are skeptical, but some are willing to get the vaccine. Now, step 7 is that to develop a communication plan and implement social mobilization and advocacy activities. So we have a health education promotion officer that will coordinate with the Department of Health with regards to the IEC materials, brochures, promotional videos, tarpaulins, and other communication medium related to COVID-19 vaccination. And then we will tap the local information officer, our communication people in the city hall, the radio stations, the newspapers, the vloggers, the young people from social media will be part of our information campaign and bring together civic organizations, religious organizations, youth organizations, and other non-government organizations to help out the advocacy of COVID-19 vaccination in Ormoc City. And also we will prepare, we have already prepared an adverse effect following immunization program, adverse event of special interest program during the rollout vaccination. To create a memorandum of agreement between the local government unit of Ormoc and hospitals and the private sector with the referral, admission, and management of any case of AEFI if ever it happens. I hope nothing happens in Ormoc. And then we always have a standby ambulance per district that will be deployed throughout the immunization activity. And then we also prepare an AEFI kits and emergency equipment of at least 1 per team. And lastly, identify, coordinate, and gather contact number with the referral facility. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, we also develop a waste management plan. Ormoc City Health Department, our sanitation unit, will lead the development of the waste and management plan. The 3rd member of each vaccination team will be trained and oriented to record and do a waste management plan. They will coordinate with the sanitation office and our environmental and natural resources office for proper disposal of our vaccination waste until this inoculation process is finished this year. And then we will repeat the whole system again next year. Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Richard. I love the way it is so laid out in such a business-like manner with a plan A, plan B, plan C, all the way to a waste management plan and a partnership with a logistics company. And I can see the challenges that the mayor faces, a relatively small population, but spread out over a very large land area. So his catchment area is going to be the challenge. But thank you, Mayor Richard, for the detailed plans. Let me move on and shift gears and go with a private hospital perspective with our next speaker, Margaret Bengson. So Gaget's got 25 years of experience in healthcare management operations and finance. She is currently a senior healthcare consultant at Ayala Healthcare Holdings, or AC Health. With the onset of the pandemic, she was tasked to lead Ayala Group's COVID-19 response, initially focused on testing and treatment, and that now her role has now expanded to vaccinations. She likewise represents Ayala in Task Force T3, a partnership between the Philippine government and the country's largest conglomerates, dedicated to rapidly building up healthcare capacity to beat the virus and save lives and livelihoods. I worked together with Gaget with the vaccine task force headed by Secretary Charlie Galvez. And so she represents and provides a viewpoint of what the private sector hospitals can do to help the government and to help LGUs. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we welcome Margaret Bengson.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill, and good afternoon, Mayor Bing, Mayor Abby, Mayor Joy, Mayor Richard. Let me just share my screen. Yes, so as Bill intimated, this is a similar presentation, although from the perspective of the private sector, and really able to hope to highlight how we in the Ayala Group, and indeed with other private sector partners as well, have worked to support, augment, to supplement the efforts of the government at the national level, as well as government at the local level, to tame and eventually beat this COVID-19 pandemic. And this is focused on the effort, particularly with respect to vaccinations. And the presentation is in two parts. I want to just provide some discussion on the national effort to provide some color and some context, and then focusing on the specifics of the Ayala program in the second part of the presentation. So the national government, as we all know, has launched quite an ambitious, quite an aggressive vaccination program. And the objectives are two-pronged to address the health crisis and the associated economic crisis. And with respect to the first objective, the intent is really to limit transmissions and reduce and even eliminate totally the number of people getting sick and dying from COVID-19. And relatedly, it's so important that we restart, sustain economic activity, critical economic sectors, build confidence, and this investor confidence and consumer confidence to spur recovery and drive growth. So I guess we need to think about this as a race. And it's a race really from the clinical perspective to beat the virus and its ability. We've seen this incredible ability to mutate. It's also a race to restart the economy and begin the road to recovery. So if we have any chance of winning this race, we really need to think about speed and we need to think about scale. And so the aim of the government is to eventually build up capacity to 500,000 jabs per day, or the equivalent of 3 million jabs per week over the second half of the year. And just to put it in context, if you take a look at the slide to the right, 3 million jabs a year, 3 million jabs a week takes us to really the big league of vaccinators. So we'll have overtaken India, and we'll be matching the UK and coming up to really high levels of vaccination. And parenthetically, I guess this might seem a little bit counterintuitive that we're worrying about now administration capacity when the challenge seems to be securing vaccine stock. But really, as the developed countries complete their vaccination efforts in the second half of the year, the stocks will become available, are being promised to the country, and the challenge will then become administering with sufficient speed and sufficient scale. So to achieve this, we really need to be an all hands on deck model for execution, including us in the private sector, because we need to build up scale, as I said, and build up scale quickly. We need to be able to identify upfront any possible bottlenecks and proactively declog those bottlenecks. We need to be flexible in our execution so that we do not impede the targeted speed and scale. And finally, we need to leverage resources from all sectors, including the private sector, as we really have much to contribute by way of staff and of course funding. And the partnership that obtains in the Philippines is actually, attracting much positive attention in international circles, and Bill will validate this. And this partnership has yielded, and we expect to continue to yield numerous benefits, including the capacity to augment in the public sector and accelerate execution, augment funding as well, and ease somewhat the national governments and the local government's burden in terms of implementing their vaccine program. And by doing so, we'll be able to really make significant progress in terms of achieving the objectives of saving more lives and achieving faster economic recovery. So execution, large scale, hundreds of millions of vaccines within a very tight time frame, requiring very very meticulous, very disciplined, very systematic execution, and all in the context of a lot of uncertainty. So complex and challenging execution needs really nimble, robust organizations that facilitate coordination across multi-sectors and across various work streams. So this is on the left side, you see the organization at the national level, where there's a command structure that oversees essentially 4 work streams: procuring the vaccine, allocating that procured stock, and actually administering the vaccines as this come into availability, looking out for all the distribution and logistical arrangements for the vaccines, as well as, importantly, the ancillary supplies that need to come to play together with the vaccines. And finally, communication, also so important to build confidence in the national program and be able to maximize public uptake of the vaccines. Now, there are 4 sort of cross-cutting work streams: IT, funding, legal regulatory concerns, and vaccine clinical review. And from the beginning, we in the private sector have engaged quite actively and consistently to support the government across all these work streams and across various fronts. So we've contributed funding, we supply advice across various fronts, technical advice in commercial negotiations of Sec Charlie, who's super stressed out by trying to work with all these different vaccine manufacturers and getting the country, the best deals at the fastest possible time, and also support in project coordination, project management, and project evaluation. We've been able to serve as convener as well, bringing together the different groups that have to come together to ensure optimum and maximum execution. And finally, we're able to contribute assets and resources in terms of logistics, administration, data management, in infrastructure, public information, education, and so on. And so zeroing in now on the specifics of the YALA program. So we've adopted the national standards and the global standards as well in vaccinating and in designing what we're calling AVIP, or the Ayala Vaccination Immunization Program. And this is to support in very concrete and very operational means the national and local efforts, even as we're able to attend to the specific needs of our direct constituents and beneficiaries. And we've developed here what we're calling the 5S framework, which leverage the resources that we have as a group in delivering as close to an end-to-end vaccination program as we can conceive at this point, and I'll go through each S quickly. So the first S is supply, which covers procurement and logistics management. And as we all know, the national government is in the process of engaging a third-party logistic provider to take supply from the port to the job site, mindful of all the different storage and transport requirements of the various brands. And we in the public sector are coordinating quite closely with the government and its designated agent or agents in this logistical arrangement of the stock that we have procured as the stock becomes available over the course of the year. Now, we were very mindful that it's really the national government that's the only authorized, recognized body to negotiate with different vaccine manufacturers, and any stock that we procure in coordination and in partnership with the national government. And this partnership will continue throughout this logistics process. The second S is scheduling, which involves master listing, appointment setting, and pre-screening. And this is the back end of the data management work stream to generate a master list of all our target beneficiaries, prioritize these beneficiaries in a manner that's aligned with national guidelines, schedule vaccination appointments, and we're looking at 2 appointments already at the front end, spaced according to the prescribed regimen of the particular brand. We're also collecting basic information on the beneficiaries regarding their specific health situation, their specific health circumstances, again, according to the data fields that the national and local standards require. We will remind the beneficiaries 1 week, 2 days, and 1 day before their vaccination. We provide education information on the vaccines in general and the specifics of the Ayala program as well on this platform. We're doing all of this using AC Health digital platform called Health Now, which is an actually existing patient-facing, patient-centered healthcare app that we're enhancing and customizing specifically to accommodate all the requirements of the vaccination program, including, and especially so, its ability to operate with and alongside national and local databases and systems. So Health Now, if you'll observe, will figure very prominently throughout the other S's, this really being the digital backbone of the program of a whole. Our third S is shots, which is really covers the actual administration, the actual inoculation. And as you can see here, we're leveraging the assets of the group, Ayala Land specifically for the sites, and Healthway and Polymed as providers, in provisioning a combination of what we're considering mega vaccination sites and hospital-based vaccination sites, starting with priority areas defined by the government, which were hardest hit by the pandemic. So NCR, Region 4, Regions 3, Cebu, Davao. We're targeting to have all these sites ready by the end of the second quarter. Mayor Abby, you'll see here that we're actually also talking to Ateneo for the Quezon City site, and we'll be neighbors there. I think you guys will be occupying the grade school area, and we'll be occupying the Leola covered courts. And now we've validated the staffing plans prescribed by the DOH, which is essentially a 6 to 8 man team with a throughput of about 100 vaccinees per 8-hour period. This is the patient journey. Again, appreciating that program execution needs to be very much led by the government. We have engaged and engaged regularly and consistently and quite extensively with our host local governments. And I think Mayor Abby, Mayor Joy will validate this in ensuring that we're actually able to abide with and comply with the standards that the national government has set as well as the local governments are prescribing. So we participated in a number of LGU simulations and have conducted some of our own, all in the effort to deliver really a patient experience that's convenient, that's congenial, that's efficient, and that's most importantly safe. And again, I repeat, drawing heavily from national and local prescriptions. So this is the patient journey as we've developed, very similar to what you've described, the waiting area. We're actually also going to do a lot of the vital signs taking, a lot of the education at this waiting area. Registration, where the persons will essentially scan the barcode that Health Now provided at the outset, so that we're able to recognize that, yes, you are indeed an eligible person to be vaccinated at this time in this site. Some additional screening, confirmation questions, additional counseling if the patients need it, and obviously consenting with respect to both data privacy consents as well as consents for the procedures themselves. Vaccination involving the actual inoculation, and also the documentation of not just the brand administered, but as required, also stock and lot numbers. And finally, observation, as all of you provide, holding the patient for at least 30 minutes to observe for any immediate adverse reactions, manage on site as we're able to, and refer to emergency care as that may be warranted. So the site is set up and provisioned with an eye to obviously health and safety standards, physical distancing, masking, frequent sanitation, and such. And again, all powered by Health Now, which from our simulations really facilitates maximum throughput. If I might just share, our first simulations were basically very manual simulations where the beneficiaries had to document on paper the different specifics about their circumstances, situations. We had to do data entry right on site. We had to do counseling, face to face. We had to do vaccinations, including taking down 16, 18, 24 digit numbers for each vaccine, and observation and monitoring, again, very, very manual. And we were getting a throughput of something like 50 to 60 vaccines over the 8-hour period. So very below optimal. But as we've been able to leverage Health Now and its capabilities, and I'm glad to see that the presentations of Makati and Quezon City and Ormoc and Bacolod all have very strong digital backbones, because this is really what's going to drive throughput. When we actually implemented with a Health Now simulation, we were actually able to take that up to close to 200 vaccines over the 8-hour period. So times 3, times 4 even productivity because of a strong digital backbone. The fourth S is surveillance, and this has to do with everything after the vaccination. And you'll see now, again, Health Now figures very prominently, building up the vaccination record from original master listing and the screening databases as the beneficiaries receive their first dose and then their second dose. This vaccination record will become the basis for the vaccination passports, whose utility at the moment is basically concentrated with the ALA group as a return to work mechanism. But we are working with and building linkages with local and national and even international vaccine platforms, really to expand the recognizability and the utility of this vaccine passport. It's also Health Now, through which we'll be able to do some level of pharmacosurveillance, passive in the sense of 24/7 access to primary care physicians, to whom patients can report any symptoms or side effects, first in the form of an online consult, and then if an actual face-to-face consult becomes necessary, then we provide for that. And finally, the information in the database can be aggregated and analyzed at the level of the individual Ayala business unit, but also available information for the LGUs and the national government, as well as the global databases that are collecting all this information. The last S is really foundational, which is science. And we're lucky in the Ayala group, being the health vertical of the group, to have the resources throughout this pandemic, who have been working very hard, doing research, engaging with experts, and then producing and presenting a body of information education material. And to do so in a manner that's compelling, online platforms, in-person platforms, in publications, videos, town halls, roadshows, and this group is really representing our internal source of truth. I mean, so we all know there's a lot of information, many times confusing, many times conflicting. And really the intention is to enable our constituents to be properly informed, properly educated, and to participate in the Ayala program and the local government programs with full confidence and full trust. So that's the program in sum. It's evolving. As you all know, as the national program is itself evolving, and we continue to engage. And we engage enthusiastically, we engage committedly, because we see this vaccination effort really as more broadly, the entire COVID engagement, as an opportunity, as they say, for us to do well and to do good, to take care of our own, certainly, but simultaneously contribute in a really meaningful, really significant way to national purpose and national good. So thank you all very much for your attention, and I look forward to engaging with you all during the Q&A.
Thank you, Gagat, for the presentation. So I think what we're seeing here is a private hospital, private health system perspective of how it can help with the vaccination administration program of the national government and of local governments. And I think in general, I think the private hospital system is ready to assist in vaccinating not only private sector employees, but actually the general public. So I noticed a number of the mayors have partnerships with private hospitals, and we would encourage it. So I think that's one insight we have. The other insight I have is that the power of technology and digital platforms, it will be a game changer as far as productivity is concerned, moving from manual sign-up sheets to digital platforms and apps, as some of you cities are already doing. And I think you will see a 2, 3, or 4-fold increase in throughput. And that's going to be critical in the journey to moving towards herd immunity. Now, throughout the other presentations, we've heard about dashboards and the power of data to be able to track all of this, because this is so important to keep track of the vaccine supply, the ancillary supply, and the vaccinees themselves, and of course later on any adverse impact and surveillance that's needed for at least a year after the vaccination. So let me go to the last presentation, which is really all about data, using GIS as a critical tool to help plan, implement, and manage efficient and equitable vaccine distribution. Our next speaker is Elaine Ocampo, and Elaine heads the Solution Engineering Division of Geodata Systems Technologies, a premier provider of smart mapping and spatial analytics solutions, and a sole distributor of Esri in the Philippines. She has been in the GIS industry for the past 13 years with extensive experience in designing GIS-based solutions supporting local and national government workflows. The Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, where I sit as Chief Resilience Officer, has worked with geodata for many years. And in fact, we use their ArcGIS platform at our Emergency Operations Center in Clark to track typhoons, volcanoes, and earthquakes, and now pandemics and vaccines. So to speak about the dashboards and the the data analytics tools of geodata, let me please welcome Elaine Ocampo to present for geodata. Elaine? You're on mute, Elaine.
Okay. Yes, hello, good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you how the geographic information system can be used as an effective tool in monitoring the distribution of COVID-19 vaccine in the current campaign of the government and many governments worldwide. So as many of you know, GIS is an enterprise technology framework for collecting and managing, analyzing, and sharing data to achieve location intelligence. Just like in COVID-19 response activities, wherein GIS was widely used for real-time data sharing, monitoring, analysis, visualization, and planning, these are the same capabilities which can support vaccine distribution efforts and engagement with stakeholders and the public, as well as providing real-time awareness and transparency. So this afternoon, I will be sharing with you how ArcGIS can support these activities. With COVID-19 vaccines expected to be available soon, governments are getting ready to distribute vaccines on a massive scale. So this is a massive effort that includes meeting sub-zero storage requirements, prioritizing vulnerable communities, monitoring key vaccine distribution trends, and communicating critical information about vaccine resources. So applications are available that can support the government's vaccination efforts. In terms of the COVID-19 vaccine distribution resources, the RGS solutions enable users to understand the conditions in the different communities and enable government to work collaboratively with the community. It also enables users to easily deploy location-based systems such as web apps, survey forms, and dashboards. So let's dig in with step one, which is ensuring access to your points of distribution or your vaccine centers. So this requires two pieces of information: the vaccine distribution sites or your vaccine centers and the population that they are intended to serve or the citizens. First, we map suitable locations for vaccine distribution. In GIS Peak, we call these candidates. This will likely include hospitals, clinics, and some government facilities. I heard mentioned earlier in some of the vaccine plans of the mayors that some in their localities, they are planning to use churches as well. So that could be included. It is also important to identify each facility's capabilities, like the availability of ultra cold storage freezers. As we know, the vaccines right now have very specific requirements in terms of storage. So there may be other factors that would support facility planning, like access logistics, such as ingress and egress for vaccine centers or parking facility sites, and nearby traffic conditions, so you can avoid creating new bottlenecks in a community. It is also a good idea to identify additional candidate vaccine delivery sites if more capacity is needed for later stages of the process. So as you reallocate supplies to other areas that would need the supplies for vaccines, then you can plan accordingly. Taking all this population data into account and your list of vaccine site candidates or vaccine center candidates, the analytic tools can determine which sites would be the most optimal for vaccine distribution. We call this location allocation, and it calculates the travel distance to facilities by walking, driving, or for every single community. So you would be able to know where the gaps are in terms of your catchment or reachability of your vaccine centers with your citizens. While geographic access is critical, it is also important to consider the capacity at each of our sites. And that is where we get into our second step, anticipating demand. By considering how many shots of each of our sites can give each day or week, we can generally anticipate regions where there is an overwhelming demand based on the population data from before. So this informs us where to position or hire more staff and add additional traffic control and arrange for more supplies to be provided. Here in this example, we see some sites that are placed right in the heart of the city, but they don't have enough capacity. So if you notice at the center of my map, adding human resources at these sites could be an efficient and cost-effective method of keeping up with the demand without adding an entirely new site in the region. RGS also supports tracking and managing vaccine inventory, along with the vaccine distribution kits and your PPE inventory. Easy-to-use mobile tools can read the barcodes on the vaccine cartons and parse the information into relevant fields like quantity, lot number, and expiration date. This makes inventory check-in quick and easy. In the same way, inventory can be checked out when supplies are taken from the inventory for use. And all this movement of supplies is monitored in real time with connected dashboard. So you see in my dashboard here, the different information on your vaccine supplies inventory. So we have your needles, syringes, liquid units, prep pads, including information about specific site supply. So as you zoom in and click on a particular site, you would know the current status of inventory, even the movement of supply as they get in and moved out or administered from that vaccine center. The third step is to track progress. Sharing progress with the public can be a great source of motivation and encouragement for the community. And it also helps with the internal decision-making process. So for example, this is a coronavirus vaccine distribution dashboard which can be used by LGUs and health and human services staff to visualize, monitor current status of vaccine distribution and monitor how vaccine distributed across segments of the population. So Mayor Gomez, I'm using our mock right now for the demo, but this does not reflect official ORMOC data. In this map, we see identified cluster areas. For this case, I'm using barangays. Okay. First, let's explore a sample data for the entire city. Individuals who are part of the priority population can get vaccinated in 13 different sites. This data simulates the progress of the vaccination the past few days. In this period, over 200 doses were administered out of the 30,000 doses that were initially provided to these vaccine centers by the LGU. Of the 215,000 residents, this is per 2015 population, 200 had the first dose and none yet had the full 2 doses since we've started just last week for our demo today. This chart shows the percentage of population that got inoculated per day and whether they got the first dose as shown in the red line or already got the second dose as shown by the blue line. We can also monitor the progress of the vaccination for the priority population. In this sample, we can see the percentage of total administered vaccines for each priority group. So you can see here on a day-to-day basis, how many for each priority group has been vaccinated. Detailed information about the inoculated population is also viewable in these charts. We can see examples by day, by priority group, by age, and by gender, as I will show you in a bit. So you can see there the percentage of the first dose inoculated. And we can also see by age group. So as of now, we can only vaccinate 18 and the above. So we can see here the different status of inoculated population per day from our vaccine centers for each age group and for gender as well. We can also see the status of the vaccination efforts for subclusters within the LGU. For example, I'm looking at the Barangay Cogon Combado of ORMOC. There. So you see the changing indicators specifying the specific progress or status of that particular vaccine area. And you can actually do that for the rest of the areas within the locality. Okay. So to populate the data shown in the dashboard earlier, we have here the vaccine distribution reporter, which can be used by health and human services staff to support and tabulate the latest vaccine distribution metrics such as number of doses obtained, number of doses administered by that vaccine center, number of partial and full series vaccinations, or partial when we say first dose and second dose, number of full dose vaccination by priority groups, by gender and by age. The one you saw earlier in my dashboard, it was filled out and fed by this application that is being populated and submitted on a daily basis by authorized personnel from the vaccine centers. And once you submit, that information gets displayed on the dashboard. So if the dashboard is being monitored by the LGU or centrally by the national government as well, that information can already be seen automatically. Enhancing communication is a fourth step in the process, and it's a big one. With ArcGIS, you can provide your residents or even your employees with a single landing page for data-driven information. We call this the ArcGIS Hub, and it comes with a deployable template just like the one you see here. This informs individuals not just where to get the vaccines, but it also provides tools to see if they're eligible and can direct them to the nearest facility. As you know, each accessible information can also build trust and curb vaccine hesitancy. And ArcGIS Hub, along with our other applications, are supported in dozens of languages as well. This makes it easier for everyone to get resources they need to be equally informed. So part of the applications that you can link to the hub is the vaccine eligibility surveys, which is a form that you can include as part of your campaign to inform citizens about eligibility of the vaccination. So this form asks the citizen, for example, a series of questions to determine eligibility to getting the vaccine. If the individual is a healthcare worker, when he or she is eligible for phase 1. So if they are not part of the priority group, this can also be a pre-registration or a way for the locality to get information, and for later when vaccines are available for their group, they can send out information to these residents that are interested in getting the vaccine. So this could be a part of your campaign. I know local government units has been creating master list of their citizens in terms of who are interested in getting the vaccines. This can complement that process as well. So this can be linked to your hub, and then the citizens can just use this interactively so that they would know, oh, am I eligible or not? So if the resident is eligible for the vaccine, there is an application that shows the location of vaccine centers, and it may be used to search for the nearest one. So for example, if a citizen resides in this area, as you notice, it already gives the nearest vaccine centers nearby. So this can be used for additional information. And then at the same time, it also provides information how to contact these centers, authorized centers, for questions. See, you can also provide or allow directions to be created so that the citizen will know how to go to that specific vaccine center. In the Philippines, I think vaccine centers would be assigned to citizens where they would go. So this could be an added information on how they can reach these sites. Another aspect of our vaccine distribution campaign, I think, is that we have lack of resources, specifically our frontliner that would help us in this vaccine distribution. So with ArcGIS, you can also launch this form that would allow you to get or to recruit volunteers for the vaccine program of the government. So here they can input their information, where, what time, what days of the week they can provide volunteer efforts, what are their specific background, are they medical or non-medical individuals, and if they are licensed, if they are medical, are they licensed or certified for a specific field. Well, for my case, I'm not non-medical, so I just put in sample occupation. For example, I'm an engineer, so I put in engineer here, and then I would specify what are the specific tasks that I am comfortable doing or to volunteer in. So I'm clicking here, administrative support, community outreach, that I'm comfortable doing for the vaccine program or patient check-in, for example. So all this information are changeable. You can actually specify which types of information you want included here. So once these information are submitted, so I have signed up to be a volunteer on the authorities end, they can actually manage this provided submitted information of volunteers and be able to plan out with this information. So we have here the vaccine outreach manager, wherein it can manage information submitted by the different initiatives for vaccine outreach. So here, these are information on all who signed up to be volunteers. So I'm selecting the record that I submitted earlier, and it shows here where I am located, what are the availability times, what type of support that can be provided by this volunteer, and then edit it according for internal comments or for internal reference. So here I'm approving this vaccine volunteer application, and then citing what day this volunteer can start. So once this is saved, I can also opt to notify the applicant volunteer with this information so that they will be guided accordingly. Okay. So it can link, once it's saved, can send that information and it can be linked to an email that we can send to the volunteers. Okay, so we see these 4 steps as needs that everyone has, but geography can support other parts of the process as well. So it's not just the ones you saw earlier that GIS can support the vaccine distribution efforts. For example, we can also help with tools for site planning and crowd management at vaccination venues. So, and we can also configure an inventory management system for vaccine and supply kits that is quick and easy to use. Yeah. I know for a fact that local governments included in their planning right now are ensuring that the proper protocols and safety protocols are being observed in the vaccine centers or the candidate vaccine sites of the local government. So this could be a good tool to use as well to ensure that, for example, in this case, I am planning out that this is my vaccine center. If people gonna be queuing or staying in this area, how many should this area be accommodating to comply with the safety protocol? Things like that. And you saw this dashboard for inventory management earlier as well. We can support other parts of the public health response as well with workflows to enhance contact tracing and identify community spread, track recovery metrics, and even back to work needs like COVID-19 screening questionnaires for employees and visitors to your buildings. So whatever the location-based needs, we're certainly happy to help you get there. So you have here these different types of dashboards. So all of this is really meant to provide location intelligence to respond and to work with the government as well for COVID-19 vaccine distribution efforts. All of these resources and more can be explored in our COVID-19 Vaccine Resource Hub. So here's the link in the slide. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Elaine, for the very comprehensive presentation on data and dashboards. And I'm sure many cities are looking for tools, for digital tools. So let us, we're going to run a little over time, but I think there are many questions. So if you don't mind, we'll go at least maybe 15 minutes and try to answer a lot of the questions. And may I invite all our speakers back to turn on your videos back on stage. Mayor Bing, Mayor Joy, Mayor Abby, Mayor Richard, Gaget Bengson, and Elaine. And I'll try to run through the questions and I'll also ask everyone to answer quickly. First, at the outset, let me thank all the presenters. There's a lot of requests for copies of your presentations. I think people found them extremely useful, and so I'm hoping we can share all your presentations with the audience, because one of the purposes of today is that to let other cities also learn lessons from you, because you are obviously quite well prepared, no? Okay, so let me start with a quick question. Mayor Abby, this is for you. For Makati, when will registration start? And, and the second question is, Rockwell is requesting to be considered a satellite vaccination site as they have a large number of people there. Mayor Abby, would you like to respond?
Okay, the registration for the city of Makati, registration also includes the screening. So we cannot launch it too early because there are certain questions there that are time bound. For example, when was your last vaccination? When was your last vaccination? Because under the DOH, the last vaccination that that you should have taken before taking the COVID-19 is at least 28 days. So we cannot launch the registration too early. What we plan is the registration, the screening, as well as the counseling will be online because we don't want people to be in the vaccination site too long. So that's the reason. That's the reason why we have not launched the registration too early, because the target for the vaccinations arrival will be on the third quarter of the year. As for Rockwell Center, I suggest that they write Rockwell Land to formally write to the city and identify the area where they plan to set up, because it has to comply with the DOH guidelines, and we will have to ask DOH to approve Rockwell as a vaccination center.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Abby. This one I'll address to all the mayors, and I'll start with Mayor Bing. No, as far as the master listing is concerned, just before the screening and all the registration, just to create the master list to determine how many will vaccinate in your city from your population. Have you started, and how far has it come along? And how is it being done? Are people signing up on an app, or do they have to go to City Hall to register? What's the process? So maybe we'll start first with Mayor Bing, then I'll go by the order of speakers. Next to Mayor Joy, to Mayor Abby, and then to Mayor Richard.
Yeah, thank you. As I had explained earlier, the process means that we can have it online, which is ongoing, or they can go direct to our barangay halls, barangay centers. But I must admit that as of the moment, it is quite a big challenge. The response is not that encouraging, although we anticipate that, and we are assuming, and we can see that the attitude is wait and see. So until the time we will be really exactly vaccinating, I think that is when we will be able to determine exactly who they are, where they are. But in the meantime, we do it through the barangays. That's basically how we're working on it.
Thank you, Mayor Bing. Mayor Joy, how are you coming along on your master listing? How is it done, and how many do you have?
Like I mentioned earlier, we are depending on the Quezon City ID system, which we've started rolling out last month. And this can be done online through the Quezon City government official website. You can apply online. And for those who are not tech savvy, we do it through the barangay. There are staff that go to all of the different barangays and different households and give hard copies, which we later collect, and then we have a team of encoders that encode all of their data online. Basically, that's how it's done at the moment.
And how many percentage do you estimate of your eligible citizens have actually registered with you already?
Well, since we started rolling out, we have about 160,000 on the master list now, which is different from registration, as mentioned by Mayor Abby, because that depends on the VIM system of the DICT.
Right.
They have additional questions that have to be answered, and at the moment they have not yet given us that list of questions. No, but now we have about 160,000 already on the master list, and we are giving ourselves 6 months to complete the master list for Quezon City, given the size and scope of the city and the number of residents that we have.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Joy. Mayor Abby, how are you coming along on your master list? How many percent do you think of your city have you gotten listed up on the master list?
So, of course, in 2017, we launched our Makati Zen card. So we already have our existing database. Plus, when we launched our 5,000 makatulong for COVID, we have already given 5,000 pesos to 346,000 people. So we have that much data. Plus the number of, plus our registered voters. So we're backtracking. We have a master list, and then based on the master list, how many will register for vaccination? Because of course we do not expect everybody to register for vaccination. So on a high, plus we have our data for our senior citizens. We have an available data for that because of we have our yellow card, we have our blue card. We have so much data that we just collate, and that will be our master list. So on my end, it's rather easy. It's just waiting for them to register online.
Okay, thanks, Mayor Abby. Mayor Richard, how about in Ormoc? How's the master list creation coming along? And how many percent of the eligibles do you think you already have on your master list?
Since the pandemic started, we created our own QR code system. This is what we have now. This is a unified QR code system. Anywhere in Ormoc, wherever you go, whether it be a department store, a grocery, the market, or government official, or even subdivisions, we supplied about 9,000 plus scanners all over the city. So it's an all-in-one thing. So all identification are here. Our COVID registration is here. We're almost we're more than 90% done with our registration. We're just waiting for some questionnaires coming from the Department of Health, and once they come in, all our barangay health workers will be working on that. Those who are not able to register with our QR code system, they can, especially in the far-flung barangays, the barangay kapitan and their kagawats are the ones that go to a house-to-house basis just to get them registered.
Okay, great. Thanks. There's a question here. I guess this applies to cities that have foreign workers. What's the policy if there's a foreign national working for whether a Philippine company or a foreign company in your city? Are they eligible for vaccinations?
That's a very good question. I don't even know if they're part of the priority list. But of course, for the city, again, we have to prioritize our citizens, our Filipino citizens. Then, if there will be an excess vaccine available, why not? We will give the available vaccines to the foreigners.
Okay, Mayor Joy, I suppose you have the same situation in Quezon City.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's part of the policy of the city that if you work or study in Quezon City, even if you are not a resident of Quezon City, you can get vaccinated in Quezon City. So I would advise all foreign nationals that they go through the same process. They just have to apply for the ID. They click on the box that says non-resident, and when asked for proof of workplace, they just have to attach their ID that shows that their workplace is in Quezon City, and they can get a Quezon City non-resident ID, and then they can get vaccinated in Quezon City.
Okay, thanks. Again, this is for all the mayors. There's a question here about, with all the emerging variants, will a booster dose be required in 2022? And I think the underlying question is, will it be provided for free? So there's an assumption that this first round will be provided for free, and if there's a booster round, will it also be provided for free? So let's talk about the first round. Is it free?
Yes, the first round for Ormoc is free, and we talked about it with our task force. For the succeeding years, we have set aside budget for vaccination since our population is not that big. But yes, we've set aside funds for that.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Richard. How about the other mayors? All the vaccines are available for free, including the administration of the actual inoculation.
Yes.
Okay.
In Quezon City, for the first round, it's free. And for a booster shot, I would defer to a medical specialist to advise the patient if that is necessary for them. And when the vaccines are available for commercial sale, then of course, people are free to purchase these vaccines for themselves. But the city can reassure at least its indigent citizens that their doses will be for free.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Joy. I have a question here for Gaget. No, if a city like Makati is vaccinating workers in Makati for as a service, who is else? What is AC Health? Who is AC Health vaccinating, and how will they share this information with an LGU?
Yeah, so our whole idea behind embarking on their own vaccination program is precisely that we want to be able to augment the efforts of our local government hosts. So in the case of Makati, the Health Now folks are working closely with the Makati LGU to be able to share information, front end information at the master listing level. So you'll be able to carve out already, Mayor Abby, who are Yala going to take care of versus not. And then at the back end, information on who have actually been vaccinated, demographics if you need that, information on adverse reactions and all of that. And the same thing goes for Quezon City as well. I don't think we have constituents in Bacolod or MOC, but maybe BPI or Globe. So we'll be coordinating with your local governments as well, Mayor Richard and Mayor Bing.
Okay, thank you, Gaget. Mayor Bing, I think you wanted to respond to an earlier question. Please go ahead, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. It was about the question on whether the vaccines are free.
Yes.
It's a given that in as much as in the first place we are all under emergency use authorization, these vaccines are not available on a commercial basis. In fact, according to Secretary Galvez, the procurement of these vaccines will have to pass through the national government because the vaccine companies are not treating this as a commercial transaction, but rather something like on a country-to-country basis. And it also means that if you go down to the LGUs, we are also committed to do it that way. If you talk about the variants, I think it's a very difficult question to answer because it's very premature. We cannot talk about that yet. But given what is happening, it presupposes that if ever it comes, it will still be on a free ride basis, meaning it's still going to be free because I don't think it will ever be available on a commercial basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bing. We're running over time and we're running out of time. We've got so many questions, but I'd like to close with one final question that I will address to the mayors, and I'll go in reverse order. I'll start with the Mayor Richard and work backwards to Mayor Bing. Here's the question, and I'll read it verbatim from the Q&A box. Okay. Hello, thank you for this webinar. I just would like to ask, when can I expect to be no longer afraid, no longer afraid of getting infected, no longer afraid of possibly infecting others. Will it be this year or next year or in 2 years' time or more? I have been living in fear for a year now. That's the question. How long do I expect to be, until the time when I am no longer afraid? I have been living in fear for a year now. Mayor Richard, would you like to take a stab at that?
I am just afraid as you are. No, with regards to how long, the effect of vaccine is just temporary until such time that pharmaceutical companies can come out with an antidote for COVID-19, and that's the only time we can be free of it.
Thanks, Mayor Richard. Mayor Abby.
I think we have to stop living in fear, simply because
Yes.
we have to adapt. We have to be resilient. We have to outsmart the virus. You exercise all the precautions. You try not to go out if it's not necessary. You have to live your life even with COVID-19. And in fact, they're saying there will be probably another virus coming, or another more. There's now the avian flu coming. And there's so many other pandemics that I feel will be coming, and we have to learn to live with the virus or viruses, and how to adapt and be resilient.
Thank you, Mayor Abby. Mayor Joy, what's your view on this?
Well, as a person that was once positive, I guess I share the view of Mayor Richard that I'm always in fear of getting this virus, but that's why there are protocols in place. That's why there are experts giving us advice. That's why there is a vaccine that is on its way here. And I would suggest that you just have to follow all these things that the medical experts are telling us to do, so that you can control your fear, because fear has to be controlled in order for us to overcome.
Thank you, Mayor Joy. Mayor Bing.
Actually, the way I see it, that question is very difficult to answer. Who among us here can answer a question like that? When will not even Joe Biden can answer the question. So, how our challenge is how to be able to convince people to the maximum possible that they should allow themselves to get vaccinated, because without their cooperation, without their acceptance, if they do not embrace this vaccination program, then where do we go? Well, I hope a little example of this story will help us all, because uh, we have somebody from Canada who's from Bacolod and was among the very first to be vaccinated in Canada. And so she relayed her story here through a radio station, and it was something like this. She said, they were nurses, they were health workers, and yet they were all scared, they were all worried. So much so that when they were being ferried from their homes and their working places to the vaccination center, they were in a van and they were all very silent. Why? Because they were all praying, they were all scared. And then she was asked, then why did you decide to be vaccinated? I know how she answered the question. She said, because I realized that COVID is more dangerous than the vaccine. So I hope that kind of reasoning will resonate down to the lowest levels of our society, so that the key here is to vaccinate as many, because when I face our people and I see the reluctance or even the resistance, I will always ask them, okay, tell me, outside of the vaccine, what will be the solution to end this pandemic? And the way I see it, this seems to be the only solution in sight. So we'll have to put our hearts together. We have to come together. We have to join hands together to see to it that we should be able to vaccinate as many Filipinos as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor Bing. Uh, Speaking from my perspective as working very closely on a daily basis with the vaccine task force, I would say, as what all of you said, it's learning to manage what we have. It includes taking the vaccine and continuing with safety protocols because that's going to be necessary for a while. We just have to adjust to this new situation, but it is a manageable situation if we practice all the right social behavior, physical distancing, and hand washing, and and all these other things that we need to do, wearing of masks. No, so that is the way to go forward. But as Mayor Bing, I think, very pragmatically put it, what is you weigh it between what is more dangerous, the COVID or the vaccine. I think more, there's no question about it. It's the COVID that is poses a bigger threat to all of us than the vaccine. So, thank you very much for the answers. Before we close, and I want to thank first of all the four mayors, Margaret Bengson and Elaine Ocampo, for the presentations. As I said, it's been so popular. People want the presentations, or asking for the presentations. But let me close by asking our audience the question we asked at the beginning. Would you be willing to be vaccinated? Would you be willing to be vaccinated? Yes, no, or still undecided? I'd be curious to see how the point of view is now after listening to all these presentations. Do we have the results, Jonah? Oh, okay. So you can see that definitely more willing to be vaccinated. The undecideds have dropped significantly, and the no's have dropped to 0. So I think webinars like this and the reaching out by mayors to talk directly about their plans is helpful. I think people are, as you said, looking for information. Information on which to have a basis for making a decision. So I'd really like to thank all our speakers for helping give this information out, and giving enough information for people to make informed decisions. So thank you very much for that. Let me now turn over to Veron Hetosis, the Executive Director of the League of Cities of the Philippines, who has been a stalwart partner with Livable Cities in the labs. And let me turn over to Veron to give her closing remarks.
Thank you, Bill. I think you've thanked everyone already, so I just want to thank you for partnering with us again on this webinar on the readiness of cities on the vaccination. And I would just also like to thank the 4 mayors for generously sharing their experience, their vaccination plans. We've noted that 20 city mayors are dialed in this call, and a lot of city representatives. So I hope you all take down notes and learn from what our 4 brave mayors have shared, what they're doing in their city. And then also would like to thank the team of Bill, and also our team in LCP for putting this very substantive, very informative webinar together. And thank you, Bill, for facilitating very well the webinar. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Veron. Let me get my video started here. Thank you, Veron, for being such a good partner in the Livable Cities lab, and thank you to the mayors, especially for giving such detailed presentations. Let me just wrap up with a couple of items I want to say. First of all, among the mayors, if you wish to have a sneak peek at the Livable Cities dashboard, we're happy to arrange a one-on-one meeting with you to take a look at what data we have on your city, and we can work with you to have a look at the at the Livable Cities dashboard. The second is if anybody would like to join us with Geodata in preparing a dashboard for your city, please contact us as well, because it's highly dependent on the provision of data from your city. With the data, we can map it, but without the data, we can't prepare a dashboard or any maps. So if you wish to have a dashboard, then please contact us. The third is that I'm sure many of you have joined the Bloomberg City Mayor's Challenge. And let me say, 2 weeks ago, we had 30 cities registered to join. Now, then it moved up to 60 cities a week ago. As of today, we have 180 cities now signed up for the Mayor's Challenge. We're holding a workshop on how to write a proposal this Friday from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So if your city is planning to join the Bloomberg City Mayor's Challenge with an opportunity to win $1 million for your city for the best project, 15 best projects in the world, please contact us, and we're happy to help you write prepare how to write the proposal, and we're providing coaches and mentors to help you with your presentation. So please contact us directly. And then finally, as you leave today, there will be a feedback survey. Take a look. Click on, take a picture of the QR code. You can answer the feedback form that way if you're on Facebook. And if you exit from this seminar, you will get it automatically as you exit. Please answer the survey form so we know how to prepare for future labs. And for all of you, we have your email addresses. We will be sending out and sharing the presentations that were made today. So on behalf of League of Cities, Globe, and the Livable Cities team, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next lab. Let me also say that we're launching local labs, which focus on a single province. And so March 24th, the first local lab will run, and we will feature the province of Batangas. So you're welcome to join us at that lab, and we will start posting news and links about how to join that lab as well. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
A better future.
Thank you very much.
By the brave. Envisioned by brilliant minds. Born from the passions of thousands strong. One that isn't without risk, but protected from it. Safe from all the worries and secure for what's to come. Because a better future with the greatest empires, the strongest communities, and the happiest families will always be worth having. That's why the bold and the fearless understand that recreating something better takes courage and strength. So together, let's start shaping a better future today. Recreate a braver tomorrow.